G'day guys and girls, welcome back to another video. A little bit of an exciting one for me today. We got another track day coming up on Wednesday. It's Saturday, I think it's like the 28th of March or something. Got a track day on Wednesday the 1st of April. So we're not in lockdown or anything yet. As far as we're told, the track day is still going ahead. So today we're going to do an oil and filter change. That's not exciting, but the Mountune Springs are going in. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, I bought these around 4 months ago, well, actually I got them for a Christmas present, back in December, along with the Powerflex rear spring isolator bushes. So they go in today. The DV Plus from GFB, that goes in today. And yeah, the basic oil and filter change as well, which is the Ford filter and Ford oil. So just on my way now, I've just sprayed the car. And yeah, we'll get into it. This isn't necessarily so much a how-to, this is just entertainment, watch it happen. It's pretty straightforward anyway. You jack the back of the car up, undo the nut where the bottom of the shocks are, take the springs out, replace them, do the shocks back up, let the car down. The DV Plus, there's heaps of videos out there about that. That's a bit more technical. A little bit to that. And the front springs is just a matter of, you know, removing the struts, and then, you know, take the top off the struts, and then change the springs over, reverse the process, put it all back. All right. Well, I'm running a little bit late, so I better get there and have fun. Alright, so we're going to start with the front end, headlights out, windscreen wiper cowling coming out so we can get access to the front struts, and then once the fronts are off, we'll do the DV Plus as well, and then we'll get the front springs in. So pretty straightforward, heaps of videos on taking these off, heaps of videos on taking these off. Go have a search. Alright, so just after watching Mitch do the driver's side one, we've basically got to get this drop link out. Got to unhook your brake line, unhook this line, and then these two bolts here. And then, after the Mercedes SUV goes by, we've got these three, and then you should be able to maneuver it and pull it out. Pretty simple stuff. Alright. So, we've got spring compressors. Say what you say about that. That's an 18mm socket bit just for the main bolt, and as you just saw, you need to make sure that the main strut stays nice and still, and that's as easy as it is taking them apart. With the other one, we had to take this off and reset it so that we could get this sleeve over it. So we put the sleeve on first and then slip that back inside. Just do a quick comparison on the slight difference in height between the standard spring, the black one, and the Mountune spring. So it's a little bit lower, and then once they settle, these stock springs have obviously been in for about 53,000 kilometers now. So once this settles, it'll be a little bit lower again. There you go, all done. So nice and tight up the top here. Got your drop links. They're back in. This line, brake line, and these two massive bolts here, and that's all you need to do to refit your shocks. That's what the springs look like. They are a little bit lower, but we'll see when we drop it. We'll do another measurement. We did measure them at the start. I'll let you know what those measurements were and see what the difference is. So I think now we're going to get onto the DV Plus, and which is up in there somewhere, and then we'll get onto the rear springs. So what's happened is a cover, a little cover that sits right in here, and now with that you can see up in there the DV valve, and that gives us a bit better access. This is the pros of coming to a Ford mechanic. Just another little trick. We've actually removed the hot side charge pipe there. just so that you've got all that extra room to get right up in there and fiddle around with those bloody Allen key bolts. So yeah, just while you're under here, if you've got this cover off, you may as well just undo the charge pipe from here and the turbo in here, and then you give yourself way more access for a bit of an easier job. Alright, so it took Mitchell about 5 minutes to get the DV valve out. I hadn't even got to post something on Instagram and he's got it out. So these only go one way. They're spaced unevenly apart, so it'll only fit on one way, and when it fits back in the car it'll only go one way, so you can't get it wrong. We've got some longer bolts, we've got the piston spring, we've got another bigger spring just here. I think this one's optional whether you fit it or not, but I'm going to fit it because I want it to work as factory and not like a vacuum run valve. And then we've got our new valve in here as well, so we've got a nice new big piston which is way bigger than the standard one, so we'll oil that up as well and we'll get it all together. Alright, I don't know if you can see just up through there, it's all fitted up. So all up with the wheels already off, it's probably taken about 20 minutes max. It's literally just 3 bolts and you pull it apart, rebuild the DV Plus, which has got real good instructions anyway, and then just fit it back in with the same 3, well, with the longer 3 bolts that are provided in the kit, and that's it. Alright, so DV Plus is in, we're just doing up the charge pipes, this cowling comes back on, headlights back in, wheels on, and then we can get to addressing that gap in the rear. So we've got the Mountune Springs and we've got the Powerflex rear Isolator spring bushes to go in the back. Moving on to the rear springs now, so we've got the car jacked up. What we're going to do, going to undo these bolts, let this arm drop a little bit, and then the spring should just come straight out, and the other ones we can put straight in. You can see up in there hopefully the standard rear spring isolators. They're looking pretty good nick actually, but I've got the Powerflex ones going in, so I don't want to see any comments about, oh, it's not going to lower it as much, because I don't really care about that. I just want a proper setup put in there, so let's get on to it. Alright, so with those bolts out, we're just going to let the jack down now, and you can see how much this lowers, and that spring's loose now. Both of the springs are nice and loose. Doesn't get any looser than that. Couldn't have planned that. So that's the rear springs out, and we just put the new ones back in. Here's a comparison. Obviously these standard springs are the black ones. They've been in for 50 odd thousand Ks as well. So it does actually look like they're around about the same height, or just a little bit lower than the Mountune ones. Once these settle, they'll be alright. The other thing we've got, these are the standard spring isolators. These are just like really squishy foam. Like they're really easy to move and bend. So these ones are in really good nick considering, but it's probably just a matter of time before they perish, especially with all the heat that we get. These ones, you can squeeze them, but you know, they're much more solid. This is a side-by-side comparison with these two, because people say you gain a bit of height. There's not that much difference between them, but yeah, like I said, we're not doing it for lows, we're doing it for functionality, especially on track. Alright, let's get these babies in. The left side's fitted in now. On the top of the spring isolator there's like a little knobby bit, so there's a little hole that they locate into, and then obviously you want your spring, the end of the spring, to sit right hard up against that little notch that's in the bush, and then this just sits down nicely here. This one's in. All we need to do now is jack it up. We'll get these lined up and bolted back up, and that's how you do your rear springs. It's literally a 5-minute job. Test drive time. So what do I think of these Mountune Springs? Initial thoughts, I haven't been anywhere where the speed limit's over 60 kilometers an hour, but that's where the standard springs were quite busy and you felt every tiny little bump, and it seemed a little bit unnecessary, a bit uncomfortable. These under 60 kilometers an hour are way better than standard. They're just more compliant. You feel enough, like I can feel the road really well through the steering wheel. The car feels more planted, just going up through some corners now, but the car feels a lot more planted and a little bit less side to side rock. But somehow those extra bumps that you just didn't need to feel, they're gone. You can feel what's happening through the tyres a bit better rather than just feeling every single bump all the time. So I'm actually quite pleased with that, because I thought whenever I've lowered cars in the past and put springs on or upgraded the suspension at all, it's always been a lot more harsh than a standard car. These are pretty harsh from standard, so I'm keen to see how these go on track now. I've been going a little bit slower over some speed bumps, but no scrapes or anything yet. Been in and out of some pretty steep driveways, no scrapes or bumps or anything yet, so I'll finish the video in a bit and we'll have a look around the car and just see how well it's sitting now in comparison. I've said it a couple of times throughout the video, I haven't put the springs in to get low. It's more I wanted to see the difference on handling, and with the track day coming up on Wednesday, we might find that out. The track day video, which you should watch after this one, is it's back at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's the Brabham Circuit. So last track day was the North Circuit. This is the Brabham Circuit, which is longer. It basically includes every single bend that they added on. So it's a longer track. There is a bit of a back section that's a lot twistier than what you would have seen in the North. So we'll get to throw it into some bends a bit better than the last track. So stick around for that. But my initial thoughts on these springs are that they are really good. Considering that's all that's been done, still the standard shock absorbers. And the Powerflex rear Isolator bushes. Again, I don't know if they're contributing to a slightly more compliant ride, but it'll take a while for it all to settle in. The springs themselves were in really good condition but second-hand, so they would have settled a little bit already, so they won't need as long. So I'm just going for a good drive now, and I'll go for a good drive over the next few days just to get the springs moving and settling even more, and then we'll have it on track on Wednesday. So alright, we'll cut to some outside shots and I'll show you what it actually looks like from the outside now. I'm pretty happy with it. There we go, track day prep done. We got the Mountune Springs put in, the Powerflex rear Isolator bushes, the DV Plus from GFB, that's in there, that's working really well, no issues there. And we did an oil and filter change as well because I didn't do one after the last track day. So it's on to tyre balance and alignment, and then track day Wednesday. So we're not locked down at the moment, so as far as I know it's still going ahead. Hopefully it still does, but yeah. We'll wrap this one up here. We'll go through those measurements that Mitch and I took at the start of the morning. The front measurement, so from the ground to the highest peak of the front wheel arch, it was 615 millimeters, and we dropped down to 590. So we've actually got quite a bit of a drop there. And then in the rear, probably due to the Powerflex isolator bushes, we went from 640 millimeters down to 630. So we did lower it 10 millimeters in the back, but I think because the standard isolators are just so soft and squishy, they're like a foam, probably under the weight of the car, you know, it's compressing just that little bit more, whereas the Powerflex bushes are pretty solid. Last but not least, massive thank you to Mitch. He's taken up his Saturday morning. He is a mechanic at Ford, so thank you very much, Mitch, for, you know, doing this for me on a Saturday morning. I much appreciate it. Cheers guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the upcoming track day video.